Hi there, it's Mark from that Everything versus Everything podcast. You know, the one you subscribe to, where they talk about the list. There's a list of things, and they talk about it a lot. Yeah, that's the one, you remember. Okay, good, here we go. If you've not yet heard the first 15 episodes of Everything vs. Everything, then be warned there will be spoilers in this episode. However, if you're just jumping into Everything vs. Everything and for some reason have decided to start from episode 16, then have I got a surprise for you. This is the ideal way to catch up. So here we are at episode 15 and a half, and what happens in our special half episodes is we run down the list and we just tell you where everything is at the moment. The idea being it's far too long to go through the list every time we do an episode, so we just do this every 5 episodes. My turn today, I volunteered, you'll be pleased to know. Alex is back next time, obviously, with his fantastic presenting duties that he does, but you've got me for today, so sorry about that. We now have 115 things on this list, so we're gonna run down them and we're gonna go from the best thing to the worst thing. Now, myself being something of a frustrated wannabe disc jockey, I kind of want to do this backwards and with some chart music beds and all that kind of thing, but I've been told I'm not allowed to do that. Actually, what chart music beds have I got lying around on this computer? Just a second.
The complete UK Top 40 Countdown.
So we could use that. Well, there's that as well. Okay, well, I've been told I can't do that, so what we're going to do is we're going to go down the list from the top to the bottom, all 115 items. We're just going to run through it and try and work out where we are, so we know a bit better for next time when we come back to you with another Everything versus Everything, and we put more things onto the list. So we've had 15 episodes up to now, and got 115 things onto our list. Now, sitting at the top of the list as of episode 15, which is from 3rd of August, top of the list is dog. Dogs are at the top of the list, followed swiftly by cats. This, I imagine, is going to be the cause of some consternation when certain people get back onto the podcast. I know Heather is a cat person, James is a cat person, Ewan is a dog person. Ewan is responsible for dogs being on the list that high. Now, cats originally entered number 8. They were shunted up to number 2 by James and Alex. Quite upset. So we're so far behind dogs, but they're not at this stage planning a push for cats to move past dogs, but I don't know, I can't see that lasting forever. So dogs first, cats second. Then we had a number 1 for a while was water, the substance water, H2O, that stuff you get out of the tap. That's currently 3rd. You'll remember back in episode 3 that was added straight in at the top of the list, and it was the same episode that brought us NASA and New York in the next 2 places down. Now NASA and New York are still in the next 2 places down. NASA's number 4, New York is number 5, just ahead of Berlin, which is number 6. Smartphones are there at number 7, and the compass is still inexplicably at number 8 on the list. Probably because it was brought by Ewan, and all of the things, well, most of the things near the top of the list seem to have been brought by Ewan. Ewan, obviously, very happy person, likes telling us about things that he really likes. Bob Dylan is next. That's one of Ewan's as well. But I think to get back to Compass, I can't believe Compass is still number 8. I think it's just we've had other things to worry about why on earth the navigational instrument Compass, by the way, this is not even the thing you could use at school to stab people with. This is the navigational instrument that tells you which way north is. Except it doesn't tell you which way north is, because it tells you which way magnetic north is, which is not the same as... Anyway, let's move on. In at number 10, after our last episode, is one of mine. This is my top one. This is good. The TV series Columbo, just one more thing. That's straight in at number 10, despite the fact that both Ewan and Alex have never seen an episode. This has happened to me twice now when I brought something to the list thinking I'll definitely be able to talk to these guys about this thing because we'll all have seen this. The other one was the Blues Brothers, which we'll get to in a minute. They've never seen it. I really don't understand what they've been doing. If you haven't seen Columbo either, I don't understand what you've been doing. Stop listening to this. Go and watch an episode of Columbo. There's probably one on, especially if it's a weekend. ITV3 or 5 USA, they'll sort you out. No problem at all. If you can't find one, come to me, I'll lend you the DVDs. Number 11 on the list is the concept of marriage, which Alana brought because she's about to get married. Congratulations, Alana. 12 on the list, Switzerland, the country of Switzerland, which was added during a cram session very early on, first episode, I think. We're always a bit worried that we might be offending people from Switzerland by it being not quite the top of the list, not as good as Berlin, not as good as New York, which are also places. But, you know, I've been to Switzerland once. It seemed nice. I think it's probably reasonably well placed. We don't have any other countries on the list, I don't think. So it's certainly doing the best out of all the countries. 13 on the list is the 1993 film Jurassic Park, which Alex brought. 14 on the list is the George Orwell novel 1984, which Alex also brought. So there's some good culture of different types there. We don't have the film 1984 or the book Jurassic Park. We'll have to get to those at some point. 15th on the list is the drums, musical instrument. Scott's responsible for that. And Ewan is back at 16 with Michelangelo's David. You'll recall he was overwhelmed when he first met Michelangelo's David. Also overwhelming are red pandas, which are beautiful things, and they are at 17 on the list. 18 on the list as of the other day is Batman, the superhero Batman. He's the top superhero on the list. I think he's the only superhero on the list at the moment. Pangolins, you'll remember, are the animal that looks a bit weird. We're still not 100% certain that they exist, but if they don't exist, then, as Alex was saying last time, somebody's very good at Photoshop. Alana also brought the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. That's in at number 20, which is quite topical for us here at the start of August as I record this. That'll be getting underway over there in Edinburgh, and also the 48-hour film project following that up at 21. You remember the 48-hour film project is a thing that a lot of the people involved in the making of this podcast, we all do. We do as a group called Beyond Studios. If you go to the Everything versus Everything webpage, which you may well be on at the moment, that's everythingtheeverything.wordpress.com. You will see a link down the right hand side to Beyond Studios on YouTube, and you'll get to see some of the films we make for the 48-hour film project. Sometimes we do all right, sometimes people don't like them. What are you going to do? Next on the list, Mario, the game franchise Mario. That was added during a head-to-head with Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic is way down at 76, but Mario is number 22 on the list. 23 on the list, another one of mine, the Blues Brothers. As I was saying before, talked to Alex and Gavin about that. Both fairly cultured guys, both know quite a bit about film. I thought I'll definitely be able to talk to them about the Blues Brothers, and they'll agree with me that it's a really great thing. They were prepared to believe it was a really great thing, but they hadn't seen it. They have promised me to go away and watch it, but the last time I talked to Alex, he hadn't watched it yet. 24th on the list is the concept of summer holidays, and Sunday, the day of the week, is just after that. Sunday, good to get things done that you haven't done on the Saturday. That's what Gavin uses it for. Cher, the musical artist, the second highest musical artist, she's at 26, so not as good as Bob Dylan, according to the denizens of Everything v Everything. Headphones, which you might use to listen to Cher, they're at number 27. Number 28, hands, as in the part of your body. We added them in a head-to-head with here we go, in a head-to-head with feet, who are down at number 80. So there's who's the furthest apart? So Mario is way above Sonic, 76 minus 22 is 54 places above Sonic. It was added with, and hands are 52 places above feet that they were added with. So some fairly distinct head-to-heading going on there. At number 29 on the Everything versus Everything list, don't forget everything is on this list, which means that the Everything versus Everything podcast is on the Everything versus Everything podcast list at number 29. Confused yet? You will be. The concept of bothies, these are things that, these are little huts basically that exist in Scotland that you can go and camp in or just hang out in out of the rain if you're away climbing up Munros, which are mountains. They're not on the list. Anyway, bothy's there at number 30. Being unable to stop laughing is number 31, an experience you might have having just heard my description of bothies. Ranting, the activity, number 32. That seems quite low to me. Ranting is one of the finest things available to a human being, it seems to me. I think ranting should be higher up. It's there at number 32. Ranting is something we do on the podcast quite a lot. I would hope entertainingly. Maybe we annoy you. I don't know. Anyway, ranting slightly better than having good teeth, which is at number 33. Now, having good teeth was added in a head-to-head with Coca-Cola, which is down at 63. Daytime and nighttime are the next two. They were added in a head-to-head together and have not been separated yet, so I mean that's good. Daytime and nighttime going together at 34 and 35. We now enter the section of the list which seems to consist largely of James's hobbies. Number 36 is hill walking. Hill walking, a thing you might want to do. That's from our Great Outdoors episode, wasn't it? Along with the Bothies that we went past earlier on. We'll just take a break from James's hobbies to go through grilled cheese sandwiches, which Scott brought to the list. Everybody loves grilled cheese sandwiches, but apparently we like 36 things more than grilled cheese sandwiches. Also a bit worried about that, grilled cheese sandwiches, also a great thing, useful when you're hill walking. Zombies have snuck in at 38 from episode 13. You remember we did scary things, and the colour of blue the colour, is in at number 39. Venus flytraps we added in a cram session in episode 15. They're in at number 40. So not as good as the colour blue, but slightly better than urban exploration, which is another of James's hobbies, which is at number 41. George Foreman Grills, I'm not sure this is one of his hobbies, but it's certainly another of things he's brought to the list, which is there at 42. Ewan told us about Reddit next, Reddit the website, which you hear a lot of bad stuff about, but Ewan had a lot to say about good things to do with Reddit. And then Ewan had some good things to say about things to do with dancing, and you hear a lot of bad things about dancing as well, so that's why dancing is just below Reddit. And they're both just above the Eurovision Song Contest, which Val brought, and that was just before the Eurovision Song Contest happened, in one of our topical episodes, which happened quite by accident, let me tell you. It looks thrown together, this podcast, and I mean, sometimes it is. Number 46 on the list, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That's the novel, by the way. We do not yet have the film on the list. That was added quite early on. That's sitting there at number 46. And that's enough things that I have to go on to my second piece of paper where I have the list printed out. It is possible to print out the list, people. You should print out the list and stick it on your wall so that you know at all times what is better than what. Next one down then, Nightmare, the TV series at 47. That's the thing where all the children walk around with one of them with a helmet on the head and another one shouting, "Sidestep right!" And at the same time as someone else is shouting, "Sidestep left!" Everybody gets very confused. Now, just to interject here, if you like Nightmare, you will like Alex's other podcast, which is Rainy Day Adventure Club. Have a look at rainydayadventureclub.wordpress.com or in the links on the Everything vs. Everything website. Go and have a listen to that. There's some Nightmare-esque stuff in there. Anyway, I would recommend it to you. Have a wander off and listen to that, but not until you've listened to this, obviously. The toy Furbies are in at 48, and porridge is next, followed by bananas and cocktails. So this is quite a foodie bit there we're just passing through. Bananas still, as far as I'm concerned, belong in the bin. I see they are number 50 on the list, 50 of 115 things at the moment. Bananas better than cocktails. I'm not exactly sure how that's happened, and we might have to revisit that as well. The Loch Ness Monster, the mythical creature, the Loch Ness Monster, is number 52 between cocktails and Iron Brew, which is the next one down, another properly Scottish concept. Iron Brew, the bright orange soft drink. And all of these things are above reality, so we've reached the point of the list where we've seen fit to place reality, so everything I've mentioned up to now is better than reality, and everything I'm about to mention is not as good as reality. Some might say this makes a mockery of the whole affair. Not me. Entry 55 on the list is the 2003 film The Room, which Gavin brought to us back in episode 11, 12, thereabouts. The Room, of course, one of these films that is so bad it is good. Now, I promised I would go away and watch The Room, as I think I'm the only person involved with this podcast who hasn't seen it. I have not done that yet either, but as I was saying, Alex hasn't watched The Blues Brothers. I don't think Gavin has either. You know, Monster Raving Looney Party are next at number 56, and the year 1866 is at number 57. We learnt a little bit about that in a cram session, and I'm still none the wiser as to why we're supposed to be interested in the year 1866, but there you are, it's number 57 on the list, just ahead of mobile card readers, which is the top Laura entry on the list. Laura's only been on once, hopefully Laura was coming back with more things. New Book Smell, which was in a head-to-head, you'll remember, with Old Book Smell, is at number 59. Old Book Smell is down at 71, so they've become separated because I think they were added together. Shirts, another head-to-head item. They were in a head-to-head with T-shirts. So shirts are at 60 and T-shirts are at 62, and they've somehow been separated by coffee pods. I don't understand how this has happened. I think some things must have been moved around. Coffee pods, you'll remember, I was concerned about, because they're good for making coffee with and bad for, well, everything else really, the environment, rubbish. So I'm feeling a bit guilty every time I use a coffee pod, which I do basically every morning at the moment, but I mean, don't tell anybody. So yeah, as I was saying, T-shirts 62, 63 Coca-Cola from the Good Teeth head-to-head. Coca-Cola has found itself down at 63, just above Nutella. I think because most of our panelists have kind of love-hate relationships with both Coca-Cola and Nutella, in that they love eating them but realise they probably shouldn't. 65 is profanity, and I think everybody on the podcast has a love-hate relationship with profanity in that they like swearing but realise they probably shouldn't. Next is scary YouTube videos. Another one from our scary episode 13. The concept of saunas, going in a sauna, which James had been doing just before, that's at number 67. The feeling at the start of a roller coaster ride is a little bit less good than a sauna, I'm told. Is that true? I think I'd probably agree with that. And mayonnaise. Now, we had a huge problem on the most recent episode. We've managed to find the only two people in the world that don't like mayonnaise, Ewan and Alex brought that to episode 15, and I couldn't fight them, listener. I couldn't get them to put mayonnaise any higher on the list. I invoked the entire nation of Belgium, which would have nothing to put on its chips if it weren't for mayonnaise, but they weren't having it, so mayonnaise has somehow got onto the list at number 69. This is another thing that is needing to be corrected, because mayonnaise is a great thing. Not quite a great thing is self-service checkouts, which are next one down at 70, and then Old Book Smell at 71. As I was saying, a bit less good than New Book Smell. Cocoa Pops, which Alex is a big fan of, have managed to find their way to 72 on the list. I think that's because they were added quite early on, and we added a lot of other good things, really. I think it's true that there are more good things on the list than bad. Cocoa Pops are finding themselves down at 72, which is a bit of a shame, really. Cocoa Pops, great thing. They turn the milk chocolatey, don't you know? They used to say they turned the milk brown, but then they thought that wasn't such a good thing to say. Spiders just below those at 73, and Trashy TV at 74. That was one of Heather's entries back in episode 5-ish, thereabouts. Country music is another one from Heather that she brought then. Obviously, Heather concerned about losing her dog, her pickup truck, and her wife at the same time, which happens in every country song, of course. We all quite like country music deep down, I think, don't we? We all quite like it. Sonic the Hedgehog, nowhere near as good as Mario. Sonic, as I was saying, down at 76. Mario, you'll remember, way back up at 22. The wearing of shorts. The concept of wearing of shorts, people wearing shorts, they really annoy me. That's why they're number 77 on this list. And let's not go over all of that again, because I think some things were said, you know. Basically, Alex compared me not liking people wearing shorts to, essentially said it was tantamount to racism, and we had to move swiftly on from that, so let's skip over that. And the liberal social media bubble was at number 78 from our politics episode. Obviously, we love living in the liberal social media bubble. We're not kidding ourselves that this is such a good thing, because that's 78 on the list. 79 on the list, slippers, just next to feet, as you will put your slippers on. That's number 80. Feet, you remember, nowhere near as good as hands. Hands, still number 28. One of our cram session topics is at 81. That was the star system Alpha Centauri, which we learnt basically nothing about there. American radio stations are at 82. You'll recall I had a lot to say about American radio stations. Juggling, the activity, is at 83. I think we'd all like to be able to juggle. I think some of us can juggle, but we're not that bothered about it. It's just a tiny bit better than cheese rolling, which is at 84. Cheese rolling might bring you into contact with mud, which is at number 85. There's a good set of connections here. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon have found their way onto the list at 86. I think they're the only wonder of the world on the list at the moment, so there's at least 6 more, depending on which list of 7 wonders of the world you want to use. There are at least 7 lists of 7 wonders of the world. Perhaps we need each of these lists also on the list. That's another one from a cram session, and we didn't learn very much there either, except we found that they might not exist, which is probably why they're below reality on the list. Just to remind you, everything below 54 on the list is less good than real stuff, although some of them are real stuff. I don't know. I don't understand it either. Video conferencing technology is not quite as good as the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. That's why it's at number 87. Now, the whole thing about have you brought your own bags, that's the next one down, because we don't like that. And the other thing we don't like, gift wrapping. We don't like having to wrap gifts, and we don't like the process of wrapping gifts. We don't like not being able to put things in carrier bags. Basically, that's what we're telling you here. 88 and 89 on the list. Straws. That you might drink through, down at number 90, which I know Val is quite upset about. Breakfast in bed, the whole concept of breakfast in bed, is down at 91 because I think we're worried about crumbs going everywhere. We're very tidy people, you know, or Ewan is anyway. That was one of his. Gavin brought Schadenfreude as an excellent German word to go on the list. We put that quite low down because we felt guilty about feeling it a lot, I think. Anyway, it's a bit better than freshly squeezed lemon juice, which is Alex's favourite drink, although he's way down at 93. He's not persuaded anybody else that it's a good drink. He's also not persuaded anybody else that E17 are a great band. However, if you have not heard the E17 episode, which I think is episode 9, I really commend it to you because it's extremely funny. All of our episodes are extremely funny, obviously, but the E17 episode is particularly good. Party balloons are at 95. I'm responsible for that, thank you very much. Val brought those, inserted them quite high on the list. I hate party balloons. I've made it my life's work up until the last episode to get them pushed much further down the list. I am now satisfied with the position. If you've been skipping the the section where we get to nudge and grudge things because I get too annoying on it, you can stop that now because I promise I've finished moving party balloons. They're down at number 95. At number 96, Alex was throwing some shade, although he claims he wasn't. Adverts on podcasts. We're thinking that adverts on podcasts are a thing we'd like to live without. We kind of accept we can't live without. This is the sort of Alex hobbies section of the list here, by the way, because now we're looking at the game Word Twist, and just below that there's Bertie Bott's Every Flavour Beans, the sweets there, off of Harry Potter. In a literal cram session, Alex and Ewan and James managed to cram some into their mouth. Word Porn, the website and Facebook page that Alex doesn't like, is at number 99. That's it for Alex's hobbies there, I think. Oh no, here we go. Teleportation, the hypothetical technology. Alex doesn't like that either, and it's not one of his hobbies. When a dog follows you and it isn't your dog, that situation that it's happened to everybody, and that's down at number 101 on the list. That brings us to Ewan finding loose change in the street. What can you say about this? This, as far as any of us can tell, Ewan is the only person who has ever found loose change in the street while wanting the right bus fare, I think was what it was. I think he had enough money but not the right change or something like that. And he found the loose change on the street, and for some reason this is near the bottom of the list. I don't understand. This is madness. Scott wanted to talk to us in episode 6 about the hypnic jerk or the kick or that thing where you fall asleep and it feels like you're falling, that whole thing there. He's not very keen on that. That's why that's number 103 on the list. Then we get into another one of our sort of awkward situation things, which is Ewan saying goodbye on the phone. I recommend myself the system from American films and TV shows where they never say goodbye on the phone, they just stop talking and put it down. Clothes shopping is a whole thing we don't like. None of us like that. That's at 105. And 106, getting a haircut. I'll let you into a secret. I'm recording this because I should be getting my hair cut. Being too cold. The whole experience of being too cold, which was a head-to-head with being too hot, you'll remember. Being too cold is at 107 on the list. Being too hot, by the way, down at 110. Being too cold, much better than being too hot. Being too cold, I don't think is worse than getting a haircut. I think getting a haircut is worse than most things. But anyway, the list says, and the list would know, that being too cold is slightly worse than getting a haircut. Now, when you're at the bus stop and you don't know whether the person in front of you is getting on the bus, that situation there, I'm sure you've had that. That's better than the American tipping system, which is at 109. As we say, 110 is being too hot, which is slightly better than being sweaty. These are not, of course, the same thing. See, e.g., saunas, and there's a whole well-linked episode about that. 2 episodes ago, we explored that in some detail. Bit more detail than you probably wanted. 112, the common cold. We don't like the common cold, that's down at 112. 113, Piers Morgan, yada yada yada. 114, jealousy. The emotion of jealousy, which really causes a lot of problems. So that's way down the bottom of the list. Another thing that causes a lot of problems, homeopathic medicine is our bottom item on the list at the moment. Gavin brought us that, and that's been sat there at the bottom of the list ever since. Now, Piers Morgan jealousy and homeopathic medicine have all been bottom of the list at one time or another, and they are currently our bottom 3. So that's our list. I managed to get through it without any counting backwards or any dodgy Australian DJ impersonations or any of that, so I'm sure Alex will be happy with how this has all gone. So that's it, really. That's it for this time on this special bonus episode of Everything versus Everything. Join us again for the next episode, which will be episode 16, which you'll probably find next Thursday or just after this if you're a little bit behind. Don't forget you can subscribe to our RSS feed, or you can get us on iTunes, or you can keep going back to everythingveverything.wordpress.com, or you can get us on YouTube. All the episodes are up there. There are plenty of ways to listen. If you want to get in touch and moan about where things are on the list, this would be absolutely encouraged. You can get in touch with Alex. He's at Mole Thrower on the Twitter. That's a thrower of moles. If you want to get in touch with him, you get in touch with me. It's at Mark Minto on the Twitter. That's MarkMinto. And I'll see what I can do for you. I don't have very much influence around here, but I'll see what I can do. I'll certainly pass it on. There are a whole bunch of other links to things that other people on the podcast do that are down the right-hand side of the page there on everythingvieverything.wordpress.com. Do have a look there, have a look at some other things. I think that's about all I've got to say, really. This being a podcast, we say hello to Jason Isaacs, and we thank you very much for listening to Everything versus Everything. Until next time, see you next time.